They called me uneducated trash. My own father, the man who was supposed to be my greatest protector, pointed to the front door like I was filth he couldn't wait to scrub off his hands. His veins were bulging. His voice was cracking. And my mother stood right behind him, arms crossed, nodding. No hesitation. No remorse. Not a single word of defense. My name is Natalie. And from wherever you are watching this right now, stay with me. Because what happened next is something I never could have predicted. And neither will you. It was supposed to be a casual dinner. A rare visit back home just to check in. I had driven over after a long week, still in my jeans and sandals, no agenda, no performance. Just a daughter showing up. But the moment I sat down at that table and started talking about what I had been building, tech ventures, real estate partnerships, startup equity plays, I watched their faces change. The warmth drained out of the room like someone had pulled a plug. You never finished college, my dad snapped, setting down his fork like the conversation was already over. You still work on a laptop at cafes like some kind of scam artist, my mom added, not even looking at me. And then came the line. The one that burned like acid all the way down. You're just pretending to be successful, Natalie. You always do this. You'll come crawling back like always. I sat there for a moment. I looked at my dad's smug face. I looked at my mom's crossed arms. I looked at the living room I had helped remodel with my own bare hands 2 summers ago, the walls I had painted, the floors I had helped lay. And I felt something I did not expect. Not hurt. Not anger. Clarity. Pure, clean, unshakable clarity. So I stood up slowly. I tucked my chair back under the table. I picked up my purse and my keys. And I said one single word. Okay. They laughed behind me as I walked out. My dad said something under his breath. My mom chuckled. The door closed. And I kept walking. What they did not know, what they could not have known, was that the cafe scam artist they had just laughed out of their house had closed a $7.8 million deal 3 days before that dinner. That the uneducated trash they threw out held majority shares in a fintech startup currently valued at over $200 million. That I was not walking to my car in shame. I was walking to my car in silence, the kind of silence that only comes when you have absolutely nothing left to prove. I drove 4 hours that night straight to my beachfront estate in Florida. And as I sat on that balcony watching the ocean, I thought, the water out here has more respect for me than my own family ever did. 3 weeks passed. I did not call. I did not text. I was too busy. Too busy reviewing a third offer from a major Silicon Valley venture capital firm that wanted a piece of my latest platform. Too busy having my personal chef brew the exact coffee I liked every single morning. Too busy living the life they told me I would never build without a degree, without their approval, without their permission. And then, on a Thursday, the first missed call came in. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. Then another. And another. By Sunday I had 16 missed calls. All from my mother. The same woman who once looked me in the eye and called me a mistake that never learned her place was now leaving voicemails that started with, "Natalie, sweetie, we really need to talk," and ended with, "Please just call us back. It's urgent. Please." I did not call back. Because I already knew what urgent meant. And I was not ready to give them what they were looking for. Then they showed up. Unannounced. No warning, no call to the front desk, nothing. I was on my way back from a yoga class when my phone buzzed. Security calling. "Miss Natalie, there is an older couple downstairs. They say they are your parents and they really need to speak with you." I paused on the sidewalk. I took one slow breath. Then I said, "Tell them I am not available today. And please remind them that this building does not allow unapproved guests." I hung up. 10 minutes later I was upstairs watching the security footage on my laptop. And there they were. My dad, pacing back and forth in the lobby, hands in his pockets, looking smaller than I had ever seen him look. My mom, sitting in one of the lobby chairs, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Both of them glancing around the marble lobby, the high ceilings, the artwork on the walls, looking around at the world I had built like they could not quite believe it was real. Like they had never actually thought I was capable of building anything at all. And you know what I felt watching that footage? Nothing. Not satisfaction. Not sadness. Nothing. Because I had already cried those tears years ago, alone, when no one was watching. I was done. That evening my dad sent a text. Just one. Natalie, we are struggling. We need your help. Just a small loan until things stabilize. Please. I read it once. Then I read it again. And then I typed back 4 words. Sent it. Put my phone face down on the counter. You want to know what those 4 words were? I thought I was trash. Read. No reply. Because when you spend years calling someone worthless, and then that person builds something worth $45 million, sometimes the truth hits so hard there are simply no words left. If you are still watching right now and this story is already hitting something deep, do not leave this channel. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on every notification. Every single week we bring you real stories of people who were counted out, thrown away, and told they would never be enough, and then came back and changed everything. Subscribe right now. You do not want to miss what comes next in this story. The silence after my text lasted 3 full days. No calls. No messages. No voicemails. Just silence. The kind of silence that creeps in when people are finally forced to sit with the reflection they have spent a lifetime running from. But I was not sitting around waiting for them to respond. I was closing a new round of funding with 2 Silicon Valley partners and a private equity firm based in Dubai. I was reviewing architectural blueprints for my second property, a house in Miami with floor-to-ceiling windows and a rooftop that looks out over the bay. I was living the exact life they told me I did not deserve, with or without a college degree, with or without their blessing, with or without a single word of acknowledgement from the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. Then on the 4th day, my sister called. We had not spoken in over a year. Not since she sat across from me at Thanksgiving dinner, swirling a glass of wine I had paid for, and laughed at me for what she called chasing internet money. Natalie, she said, her voice softer than I had ever heard it. They are not okay. Dad has had 2 panic attacks this week. Mom has barely been eating. I think they finally realized they went too far. I stayed quiet and let her continue. Look, I am not asking you to forget what happened. I am just asking you to help them stay afloat. They are scared, Natalie. They are really scared. I let a long pause settle between us. Then I spoke slowly. Do you remember what Mom called me the last time I came home? Do you remember exactly what Dad screamed in my face in front of everyone? There was a long pause on her end. Then she whispered, yes. Then let me ask you something, I said, my voice completely calm. If none of this had happened to them, if their accounts had never been frozen, if their house had never been threatened, would they have called me? Would they have reached out at all? She did not answer. We both already knew the truth. They did not miss me. They missed the idea of me. The version of me that never said no. The version that quietly covered their bills and showed up with flowers even after being told she was not good enough. But that version of Natalie does not exist anymore. And in her place stands a woman who wears peace like a crown, who has stopped explaining herself to people who never had the capacity to understand her value. That night I sat down at my desk and wrote an email. I kept it professional. I kept it clear. I kept it final. Mom and Dad. I am sorry for the situation you are in. Truly. But this is the life you told me I did not deserve. The same life you ridiculed me for building. I will not use what I have built to fund comfort for people who chose cruelty when kindness would have cost them nothing. I forgive you. But forgiveness does not mean access. I wish you healing. From a distance. Natalie. I did not cry when I hit send. I did not flinch. I did not sit there waiting to see if they would reply. Because closure does not always look like an apology. Sometimes it looks like a sent email at midnight and the best sleep you have had in years. The following weekend the media found out. Not about the family drama. About the empire. A major business magazine ran the story. From college dropout to fintech powerhouse, Natalie R. built a $45 million fortune from scratch, with no degree, no family support, and no apology. There was a photo. Me standing on the marble deck of my beach house, barefoot, wind in my hair, holding a coffee mug that said self-funded. The article spread like wildfire. Old classmates messaged me. Former coworkers. 2 ex-boyfriends who once told me I needed to be more realistic. Everyone wanted to reconnect. Everyone wanted proximity to what I had built. And yes, my parents saw the article. I know because my sister sent me a screenshot of their group chat. My mom had written, "She is embarrassing us publicly. This is completely unnecessary." My dad replied, "She has always been a performer. This is just for attention." There it was. Even after everything. Even after watching the world applaud the daughter they had thrown away, they still could not say the one word that might have changed everything. Proud. But I did not need it. Not anymore. Because the world did not validate me. I validated me. And I had been doing it alone for years. That Sunday I hosted a small dinner at the beach house. Just 10 people. The investors who believed in me when no one else did. The friends who stayed close when the family slammed doors. We sat outside on the deck as the sun went down over the water and we raised our glasses, to building something real, to outgrowing the rooms we were told we would never leave, to surviving the kind of shame that so many daughters carry silently when they dare to succeed without anyone's permission. Someone asked me that night, quietly, over dessert, "Natalie, do you think you will ever forgive them?" I thought about it. Not because I did not know the answer. But because it deserved to be said with care. I already have, I told them. But forgiveness is mine to give. Access is not. Everyone nodded. Because everyone at that table understood exactly what I meant. A few days later I got a text from a blocked number. No name. Just this, "We saw the article. Can we come see you?" I stared at the screen for a moment. Then I put my phone down and went back to my meeting. Because they did not want to see me. They wanted to stand close enough to the success they never believed in to feel like it was somehow also theirs. And I had no room at this table, not a single chair, for the people who laughed while I was building it. The following Monday my lawyer called. My parents' financial advisor had reached out. They were 6 months behind on property taxes. They were asking if I would consider covering it as a family loan. I let the silence on the line stretch out as long as it needed to. Then I said, clearly and calmly, "Send them my rates. This is a business matter now." My lawyer chuckled at first, thinking I was joking. When he realized I was not, his whole tone shifted. "Understood," he said. Because this was no longer a family conversation. This was business. And they had taught me a long time ago, the hard way, that when people do not respect you as a daughter, you do not owe them love like one. I was not being cold. I was being exactly as clear as they had been the night my dad pointed to that door. That week my aunt tried a different approach. She called and used the soft voice people use when they want something without asking for it directly. "Natalie, honey, I know they were harsh. But they are old school. They did not really mean it the way it sounded." I listened politely. Then I said, "Aunt, I hear you. And I have forgiven them. But forgiveness does not make me responsible for them. Because that is the line people like my parents never understand. They confuse love with obligation. They think that being family means automatic access, automatic support, automatic forgiveness with no accountability. But my support is not free. It is earned. And they spent years making sure they would never qualify for it. Instead of sending them money, I put a down payment on my second beach house, Destin, Florida, fully furnished, ocean view, paid entirely in cash. Because while they held on to their pride and their judgments, I invested in something that actually lasts. Peace. And peace does not call you trash. Peace does not kick you out. Peace asks nothing of you except that you remember exactly who you had to become to afford it. A handwritten letter arrived near the end of that month. Padded envelope, no return address, but I recognized my mother's handwriting immediately, curvy, careful, always written 2 sizes too large. The letter began with "We made mistakes. We only ever wanted what was best for you." It spiraled quickly from there into every emotional landmine she could lay. We were scared. We did not understand. We were not ready for this version of you. Can we not just start fresh? And at the very bottom, in handwriting that looked shakier than the rest, one final line. We would really love to see the beach house. And there it was. Not "I love you." Not "I am sorry for what I said." Not "I wish I had believed in you." The beach house. That is what they wanted. Not their daughter back. Proximity to what their daughter had built in spite of them. I folded the letter carefully in half. Then in half again. Then I walked to my office, fed it into the shredder, and watched it disappear. Because you do not get to call someone trash and then ask for a tour of the palace they built from the rubble of your rejection. They had a daughter. Brilliant. Loyal. Quietly fierce. And they threw her out because she did not match the story they had already written for her. Now that daughter was on the cover of a national magazine, sitting on a $45 million portfolio, and they suddenly remembered her name. But I was not that daughter anymore. I was Natalie, the decision maker. And my decision was final. No visits. No tours. No second acts. Instead, I called my assistant. Book the photo shoot at the Destin property. Coastal sunset. Minimalist. And tell the journalist, yes, I will do the cover interview. Because if they were going to see me now, they were going to see me the way I chose to be seen. Not through a cracked door begging to be believed. Through a magazine cover, barefoot, unshakable, and completely, permanently free. The cover dropped on a Tuesday. Full page. Me on the marble deck, wind in my hair, smile quiet but completely certain. The headline read, "She was told she would never make it. Now she does not answer unknown calls." It was inside 6 pages, the full story, the dropout, the hustle, the rejection, the empire. No degree. No apology. Just results. Within 48 hours their entire social circle had read it. Church friends. Former coworkers. Neighbors. Everyone. And my cousin forwarded me a screenshot of my dad's response in the family group chat. I am sick of everyone asking about her like she is some kind of hero. She betrayed this family. No, Dad. I did not betray you. You abandoned me. And I survived anyway. That is not betrayal. That is becoming. By the end of that week another letter came. Shorter this time. No drama. No guilt trips. Just this, we see now that we were wrong. If there is ever a place for us in your life again, we would be grateful. I sat with that letter for hours. I held it in my hands and I thought about the girl who would have broken at those words. The girl who would have called immediately, rushed to fix it, rushed to finally be chosen. But that girl does not live here anymore. She has not lived here for a long time. I wrote one final response. Not to reopen a door. To close it, properly, permanently, with the kind of grace they never once offered me. Dear Mom and Dad. You taught me what it feels like to be unwanted. What it means to be discarded by the people who are supposed to hold you. And in doing so, without meaning to, without understanding what you were giving me, you taught me to build something that no one can ever take away. I forgive you. I do. But forgiveness does not include access. You will not be part of this chapter because you tore out every page that could have written you in. I wish you healing. Genuinely. But from the distance you created. Natalie. No warmth at the end. No see you soon. Just the truth, signed and sealed and sent. Clean. Earned. Absolute. It has been 6 months now. 6 months since they pointed to that door. 6 months since I walked out with nothing but a purse and a quiet okay and a spine they never once believed I had. And in those 6 months I have opened 2 new companies. Invested in 5 women-led startups. Built a scholarship fund for girls who look like who I used to be, brilliant, overlooked, told in 100 different ways that they were too much or not enough. The letters have stopped. The calls have stopped. The voicemails have stopped. Just silence now. And that silence, the same silence that used to feel like a wound, does not ache anymore. It sings. Because I stopped chasing their version of love the day I understood it was never unconditional. It was always conditional. As long as I stayed small. As long as I stayed obedient. As long as I never had the audacity to outgrow the story they wrote for me before I was old enough to write my own. But I outgrew it. I rewrote it. And the new story has high ceilings and wide windows and a table with room only for the people who showed up before the glow up, the ones who believed in the vision when it was still just a laptop on a cafe table and a girl too stubborn to quit. People ask me sometimes if I regret cutting them off. If I get lonely. Here is what I tell them. Loneliness is living in a room full of people where your voice does not matter and your dreams are a punchline. Peace is waking up in a home you built with your own hands, where every single corner reminds you, you did this. So no. I do not regret leaving. They kicked me out thinking they were punishing me. What they did not understand, what they may never understand, is that they were setting me free. And if they ever drive past this house, this quiet palace of soft light and loud legacy, they will know. The daughter they once dismissed as a failure turned out to be the architect of everything they needed. And everything they will never have again.